Hey, welcome to this video, and today I want to do a quick overview of the Caro Kann, specifically from White's point of view, and I want to make a suggestion for my good friend Josh. He's been asking and considering what to play, and well, I want to show him the classical variation, which used to be in main line and is still one of the most played variations. And I just want to go over what the main black responses are and just a quick overview of how to deal with them. So first of all, most of you will know that the Caro Kann is the opening that starts after e4 with a black response of c6, and now already White has some different options to play. A lot of beginners will play knight f3, and that is a valid way to play. But a principled way to play is when your opponent gives you the center is to grab that space in the center, get those two pawns into the center of the board, and this gives you a lot of freedom to develop your bishops these ways, and it gives you some good central control, and it just stakes a nice firm claim to some central territory. You see that these pawns are also controlling these squares over here. And black responds by playing d5, and with this move he challenges the pawn on e4, and he, instead of playing d5 directly, he has prepared that by playing c6. Now the classical variation starts with the move knight to c3. D takes e is what black almost always plays, and then of course we aim to recapture with our knight. That was the entire point of knight c3. So this is the most standard position to reach after the fourth move of White's, and here what you will normally find is that black will respond with three typical moves. The first is bishop f5, the second is knight to f6, and the third is knight to d7. So let's look at all of them. So bishop f5, this directly attacks the knight, and it aims to solve what is usually a big problem in the French defense, this bishop being stuck behind a pawn chain. And well, black tries to also gain some time on this knight, and therefore the most obvious response and the main continuation is knight to g3. This attacks the bishop and black falls back. And here, well, one of the main ways to play could be h4, knight f3. Well, there are a couple of options. Knight e2 also in some variations, knight h3. There are all kinds of ways to play. But my suggestion here, if you want to just play a game, not get too heavily into theory, like you said you don't like that so much, and I understand that, you just gradually learn more as you improve. Getting to this position already shows you've done some work on the opening and know a little bit. But yeah, here you can just play a very legitimate developing move with bishop c4, and you still have some flexibility depending on what black does, whether you will castle queenside, kingside or queenside, and whether you push this h-pawn up the board and try to harass this bishop, and regarding the placement of your g1 knight. So bishop c4 is just a very solid way to play, a decent way to play. So let's go back, and instead of bishop f5, which is the most played move, there are also two other moves, like I said. A very decent move which I like myself is knight to d7, and well, the aim is here to play the same idea as with knight f6, which is the last move we'll look at, but in this case, if White captures, we don't have to recapture with a pawn, either the g or the e pawn, but we can recapture with our knight over here. So the idea is to swap off one pair of knights, seeing as black does have um, less space than white, so he would like to exchange some pieces, but he does not want to compromise his structure. So here you can just, there are a bunch of critical continuations which really try to test black. If you want to study this opening, I would suggest looking into knight g5, which is probably the most testing critical continuation. But I guess you just want to play a game, and then knight to f3 is pretty decent. And well, black will play knight f6, and then, well, you can trade. That is not a bad idea at all. But you are sort of helping black. A good way to get to play a game is to play knight to g3 and just develop logically from this point on. And you can still castle queenside in some situations, and sometimes go for a kingside attack. Sometimes you just castle kingside and play positionally. It is just a game to be played. So that just leaves us with one last continuation. If we go back, then black can also go for knight f6. Of course, there are other moves which are played less often, but these three are the most, by far the most played moves. Okay. So here, black doesn't mind so much that you capture, because he can take in two ways. People most often take with the g-pawn, and the argument is that he has the open g-file, and he can maybe push for e5 later on, and well, he's happy to have been able to trade off one pair of knights, and just thinks he has some good chances to maybe assault a king if it castles kingside, or get activity for his pieces. But a lot of people, when they play knight f6, are waiting for this type of move. Also, this recapture is just, let me just quickly go into that. I don't see much wrong with it, but people who like to play for positionally look into the end game resulting from the opening structures already can see that there's a 4 against 3 majority here. But there's still a long game to be played. I actually like this type of position. Don't think there's too much wrong with that. But as you can see, black has an open piece play already for his bishops. But okay, he has compromised his structure. This is a given. And with the other recapture, it's generally thought that he has some interesting compensation for his ruined structure. So what you can do as an alternative, and which fits nicely with the other moves I suggested to not play into black's cards, is to just move the knight back, and sort of you've told black you refuse to play his game, and just want to play your own game. Just normally develop, get your pieces out, get castled, and play solidly, and go from there. What I suggest is you go to 365chess.com if you want to do some further studying by yourself and some exploring, and just you can make an account like I did. You don't have to. You can usually check out the first few moves without an account, but on there you can just explore the variations, and well, look at what here you can see, for instance, the number of games which are played with all these moves, and the year they were last played, and behind that there is also what type of results have followed from there. For instance, one interesting offbeat try you might play as the black side, you can see here, is h6, which does reasonably well for black. The idea being that this is something black wants to play anyway, and if he gets to, he can move his bishop back to h7 in one tempo instead of in a lot of the main continuations where it costs 2 tempi. So that's a funny type of move order twist with the move h6. But of course, white doesn't have to play into that. He can also play bishop c4, for instance. Very legitimate move as well. So yeah, that's a way to study further by yourself. And yeah, I hope you got a lot out of that. You can ask me for maybe some more in-depth information on one of the variations and maybe some sample games. That would be good, I think, to get to know the middle game plans and how the structures are generally played with regards to pawn breaks and piece play. So yeah, that would be an interesting way to continue if you are interested. But this was just a good overview, I think. Well, bye for now.